What's going on, everyone? Jonathan here with the Venue RX, and I'm joined today by Henry Chen, who has a really cool story and an incredible offering for the wedding and events community. And so I'm excited to share that with you today. Henry, I just want to welcome you on the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, Jonathan, Henry here, of course, and we are recording, right? So we are also on video, but super excited and grateful for being on your show. And I just want to give you much love and kudos because I know you have the podcast, but also on YouTube. So as a fellow YouTuber, everything you put into your product and everything is amazing. So thank you again for having me.
Henry, thanks for mentioning that because I love reminding people we are on YouTube as well as the podcast platforms, wherever you listen to podcasts. I think it's fun. For folks who love listening to podcasts on their drives or whatever, that's great. But with YouTube and, with seeing both of us, I think it definitely adds a fun dynamic. And so I appreciate you noticing that. There's definitely a bit of extra work that goes into that, but it's fun. We get to connect. So
yeah, I'm wearing I won't say I wear my basketball shorts here, but I do have one of my few sweaters here to try to look a little half professional for your audience. So thanks again. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I've had a couple of different guests now who have, been like, I wore a nice top for you, but I'm wearing gym shorts or something else. Today is one of the rare days I actually have slacks on. So, I'm excited about that. It feels kind of funny. But anyway, I'm pumped to talk to you because I think that so many of us, as we're thinking about our businesses as wedding pros, we are really interested in serving the couples that we work with, and to be able to serve them, we have to reach them, right? We have to book them, we have to serve them. And a huge part of that is marketing and how we're presenting ourselves, how we're branding ourselves. And so you have a chat marketing agency, correct?
Yeah, Jonathan. So the long story short is I started venturing into this thing called chat marketing, which is part of it is a chatbot, but automation and things like that a few years ago. But it's primarily been experimenting, using it in my own wedding photography business of over 14 years. But certainly in the last about year and a half, I ventured more into the education, helping other wedding professionals and even venues get going on this. And the last couple of months at the end of 2020, I started my new chat marketing agency, which is to actually build this whole system for professionals and all.
I think that's really cool that your story is your background in weddings and events, right? You've had this photography company that's focused specifically on weddings, and now you're teaching, the technical elements of some of these marketing things. I think that's always powerful when someone has an intimate knowledge of the wedding industry, and then they're adapting a piece of marketing or whatever to that, because if you try to go the other way and just focus on the marketing, you end up not understanding the whole concept. And weddings and events are, it's kind of a weird, super small, super large industry,
Yeah, totally.
So can you explain to us and the rest of the audience, if they haven't heard what chat marketing is, they're not familiar with that term, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, that's a great question, John. And I'm always guilty of jumping right into all the benefits and how it works and how we can get started. But like for most of us, maybe like, what is this phrase chat marketing? And we know what chat is. We chat all the time. We're chatting right now. And not just from an audio standpoint, but chatting through messaging apps. And we're going to come back to that phrase a lot, messaging apps or SMS or text messaging, Facebook Messenger, Instagram DM, even good old fashioned email. So chatting is nothing new. And of course, marketing, we all have to do, as you said, in any business. But what is chat marketing? That is where we're utilizing those messaging apps, which all of us, not just businesses and like wedding couples use, but individuals, we use that. But how can we use that from a business standpoint, specifically to generate leads, to reconnect with potential clients that maybe forgot about us, to follow up, to send information, basically to have this conversation, but in these messaging apps that people use literally not only every day, but probably every hour. And the funny thing, Jonathan, is the phrase chat marketing didn't even exist until towards the end of 2019, roughly about a couple of months after I even got into this. It was kind of called more messenger marketing. So we all know Facebook Messenger. and we probably use it for our business, certainly to, talk to our families and friends from a personal standpoint. But other phrases are like messenger marketing or chatbot marketing. But certainly going forward, actually, one of the CEO of one of the companies that do this called coined that phrase chat marketing, which is taking these messaging apps and being able to not only market, Jonathan, but also utilize it to communicate, of course, but automate the process without losing that personal touch of our brand.
Awesome. Awesome. Henry, I would love to dive in from a very basic standpoint on a little bit more of the specifics of what chat marketing is for those professionals out there that have never, ever heard of this topic. But then I'd like to get into more of the meat and potatoes and the nitty gritty of maybe some things that people can do to elevate the marketing efforts that they have using chat marketing a little bit later on. So if you're listening to this or watching this and you are interested in that and you're familiar with what they're talking about, feel free to fast forward until a little bit later in the show. But I want to take a moment because I think it's super important, and I'm not that familiar with chat marketing. So this is great. This is an opportunity for me to learn, and all of our listeners here as well. When you're talking about chat marketing, you are talking about the efforts of a business to reach more of their customers through Facebook Messenger or through like a WhatsApp or chat or things like that. Is that what you're talking about?
That's perfect right there, Jonathan. Absolutely. So I always like to give sort of real life examples. So imagine, and I'll kind of focus on wedding couples, but it could be for literally any business, weddings, events. It could be retail, it could be all sorts. But being that we're here on, the Venue RX podcast, right, on the YouTube channel, and talk more about wedding professionals and venue owners, caterers, and all. How do our potential clients find out about us? Probably through a myriad of marketing avenues, from Google search to Facebook ads, maybe to a wedding show, word of mouth, Instagram, social, the whole 9 yards, right? So that's great, certainly to be found. But the next step is, how do they actually get in touch with our business? And sometimes we think like, oh, yeah, they just filled out my contact form, or they emailed me, or they texted me. But then when we dive a little bit deeper, we realize we're not utilizing all the ways possible for potential clients to get in touch with our business. And we all know, going forward, the Gen Z and the millennials, we prefer to use mobile applications, messaging applications to connect, right? What are the likelihood of a couple to send us an email versus sending us a text message or an Instagram DM? So that's really where all of this comes from. It is to make it very easy and very quick for a potential client to connect with our business, learn more about what we do, and yes, direct things like get our pricing, find out if we're available on their, let's say, wedding date, what other services we offer. But then there's also potential clients that might not quite be ready for something so direct, especially, and I know we're thankfully out of the last year, but still a little bit uncertainty. Maybe they just want to learn more about our services, our business, not necessarily book a consultation next week or a venue walkthrough. Is filling out a contact form a little too direct? Is calling us a little bit too soon? Then we need to have other ways. So that's where, hey, imagine they visit your website, and instead of filling out a contact form or calling, a little chat bubble pops up, and it's connected to Facebook Messenger. So they don't even have to do anything but click that little bubble, and immediately, just like that, they have become a lead. They don't even know it, and we see it on our end. Or imagine if they can text the word pricing to a certain phone number, and immediately they get a text message back with your rough price range. And then, hey, do you want to schedule a call, or do you want so-and-so Jonathan follow up? So those are a couple of examples. Another one would be like, let's say Pinterest, right? Maybe we're posting on Pinterest all the time. It's a search engine, but imagine they can just click a link rather than going over to our website or a blog post, which is totally fine, very effective, but directly that link goes right into your Facebook Messenger, your business Facebook Messenger. And it could be to learn more about whatever it is. And just like that, they become a lead. So the whole process is very quick and very effortless. And on your end as a business owner, being that most of this stuff is going to be automated, you can go off and do other parts of your business, knowing that you have this automated chat system in place to make it really accessible for others to get in touch with your business.
Henry, I am really like getting excited thinking about this and hearing this, because I think of marketing not just about sales, but certainly in this interesting job environment that we have right now, where there is now increasing demand, but a lot of people have been buoyed by, stimulus money, which I think has really been helpful to a lot of people. But now we're in a scenario, and I certainly know this from staffing, where folks may not be as excited about coming back to work for some of these positions. And so this seems like a really good thing as well, to use marketing for positions. You can answer questions, you can get the applicant maybe quite a bit of the ways through the process. So it seems like you could use chat marketing on all sorts of sides of your business, not just reaching potential clients.
Oh, absolutely, Jonathan. I always kind of give that low hanging fruit, which we all want as business owners. We can never have enough, which is more leads, but not only that, but more quality leads, right? So
Yeah.
we don't want to have 10, 50, 100, just any leads, especially if they're not, or our pricing is not within their budget, we're not available, who knows what, but being able to qualify them. But as you said, like FAQs to checking in with your upcoming clients and customers, especially, hey, if there's an invoice due, or sending out a timeline questionnaire. So truly the sky is beyond the limit on how you can utilize it. I kind of look at it from the three main pillars of how I sort of build the whole chat system. Is number one is marketing. So that's a lot of just getting eyeballs to your business, but also making it very accessible to get in touch with you, all automated. So that's marketing. The second thing will be sales. So that is when, okay, they're now ready for a proposal from your business, Jonathan. Or, hey, can you draft up something? We have this many guests. We'd like to have these options for our menu, or indoor, outdoor events, and anything that we could be asked. So that's more like, hey, they're ready to actually possibly sign a contract, propose. That's more the sales stuff. And then there's also the operations, and that will be the day-to-day. It could also be for your team members, teammates, to be able to answer questions, so you don't have to constantly do that, or they don't even have to do that. They can work on other things. And certainly things like sending reminders, invoice, all that fun stuff. So marketing, sales, and operations, having chat marketing implemented will absolutely help your business on all three of those areas for sure.
That's super powerful. When you talk about this with people, do you get immediately some pushback, just because people aren't used to it? And if so, what are some of those things? Because I can hear maybe some problems that people would have with it. So I just want to, I'm curious, do you get pushback when you talk to people about this? Maybe
Yeah,
specifically in the wedding
definitely.
industry.
For sure, for sure. I'm glad you mentioned. Yeah, specifically in the wedding industry, mainly the biggest pushback, which I absolutely understand and completely agree, is that this sounds very impersonal, or it sounds, yeah, very robotic. I mean, it is using a chatbot automation. So we all work so hard to build our brand, right? We probably spend a lot of money and figuring out who we want to work with, and what makes each business different is not the service we provide, it's us as the business owner, our voice, our values. And also having this chatbot is like, wait a minute, then I'm going to lose all that. So that's the biggest pushback. And with that, certainly the great thing about this is you can personalize the experience. It's not meant to take us as the human being, the business, our unique voice out of it, but more so to allow us to focus on other areas, but also basically to speed up the process of them finding out more about us. And then we can step in and have that one-to-one chat, or even schedule a consultation. So by all means, chat marketing is very much meant to be a personalized, unique experience. So that certainly will not go away. But the other pushback would be, and yes, this is where objectively myself as a former engineer, that's my background, but it could get a little techie, and certainly how do I get started? And hopefully we'll touch upon that a little bit later, Jonathan, but it could be a little bit overwhelming seeing how to get going. But I always say there's lots of free tutorials, where you can sign up and things like that. So it does not have to take a lot of time, and certainly not a lot of money, to get the basics up and running. And the beauty of this is that you can start getting these so-called leads or subscribers into your chatbot within hours, a day or so after you set things up. Basically, all the traffic of the eyeballs that you're getting to your business, then imagine being able to convert a few more of those into quality leads. So definitely it doesn't take a lot of effort to get going with the right resources and all.
I love that you brought up the impersonal point, because I I think that that may be the biggest problem that a wedding pro would have. And I think that that is probably an error. And I'm hoping, I'm excited that you're going to educate us on that, because I think that technology, when used right, is an incredible enhancement to the personalization instead of being a detractor. And I know I've seen different companies use chatbots, and sometimes it's just ultimately frustrating. And sometimes it's so incredible because I can just get a couple of questions answered, when I need to. How do you address that whole topic of, like you said, with a photographer? In fact, and I think it's so cool you're from that side of the industry. A lot of times photographers, it is the unique touch point that you have. I mean, they're hiring you, Henry Chen. They're hiring what you do. They're hiring your vibe. They're hiring, how you present yourself and your brand. They're not necessarily, they of course like your pictures and like how you edit and stuff, but they're hiring you. And like you said, many people spend a lot of time, a lot of money making sure their voice is heard because you're really hiring the person. Do you think that with this, or like, I guess, how do you leave that in the conversation without just completely getting rid of people quickly and boiling it down to these functional questions like how much are you, what are your packages, and then buy? That doesn't give you any time to.
Definitely.
So how do you
Yeah.
kind of balance the two?
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned balance, Jonathan, because that's the tricky thing is, on one hand, like, oh, we want to get all these leads, like who wouldn't want more? But on the other hand, we only have so much time per day to pay attention or to focus on each lead. And if we're spending 20, 30 minutes, whether it's responding back or actually getting on a quick phone call, let alone an in-person consultation, that's a lot of time, right? So for us as busy business owners, and I'm so sorry I was like, I'm gonna try to mute myself. Okay, that part had to be cut out. Sorry about that. I was like, so for myself, as I'm glad we're not live.
Yeah, all recorded. We're good.
So so for all of us as busy business owners, how can we still have that personalized touch? So as an example, let's say we do get a visitor to our website right now. We'll keep it to the website. And so maybe they read a little bit more about us. And let's say as a photographer or any other wedding professional, they look at our work, our services, and they're interested. So at that point, no hard feeling, but they're probably not that interested in me yet as a person, as a photographer. They're probably more like, okay, can we afford this wedding pro? Are they even available on my wedding day? So it will start off with like those two most common questions. What are your prices and are you even available, right? So at that point, they can do a couple of things. One is to fill out the contact form, but probably have to wait maybe 30 minutes, maybe a couple of hours even to get a response back. The second thing would be they can call you, they can, send a blank email, but those are probably very unlikely. It's basically the contact form to get in touch with us. So now imagine the alternative where instead of even filling out a form, which they can still do, they can just click on that little button, and sure, it will be a chatbot. The actual message would actually need to say, this is, Jonathan's virtual assistant, or this is so-and-so venue's concierge, or so something fancy like that. So that way they know that it is not a chatbot. And it could just be something very simple like, hey, are you an engaged couple looking for so-and-so, right? Just to reconfirm, and they just tap a button. So immediately they are acknowledged and they get a response literally within seconds. And then at any point, you as a business owner or your teammate can always just jump right in and just message them from your phone, from a desktop, just like how we would do so right now. So one of the things I always say is, however we are communicating with our leads or even our upcoming clients, all of that is still very much pertinent, very valid going forward with chat marketing. But just imagine having this extra set of tools that you can use at any point. So with that analogy and sort of that example, like, just imagine they now say, oh, yeah, I am an engaged couple. Okay, next question, right? Can you just confirm your wedding date? Or, do you have a budget? Would you like to view our pricing? Those are a couple of the most common ones. So now that we got that out of the way, and the great thing is they're talking to a chatbot, right? So they are more willing to share things and just be like, yep, this is my budget. This is what I'm looking for. So you as a business owner, you can be off doing something else. And then maybe another hour or two, you check your phone or you're back at your computer And then you can say, hey, this is Jonathan. This is, real Jonathan. Then like there's a human being. So like, oh, hey. And the great thing is this is where other tools like using a Loom video, you can send a personalized video for 30 seconds, or even go over to the Instagram and sending a message, whatever you want to do, add that personal touch. But the nice thing is your chatbot has already qualified them. So you know only to talk to the ones that meet those qualifications. And you also know a little bit about them already, their wedding date and other information, their budget, of course, maybe a couple of the questions. So when you jump in and actually talk to them, you can even reference those things and just hit it off from there. And then certainly you can book a consultation either manually or automatically. So that's where you're adding in a little bit of automation for sure, but you're still having that personal touch of you as a business owner, still chatting with them and personalizing that aspect.
That's huge. I thought of it as like it would add an impersonal layer, but it really sounds like what it does is it allows the business owner to start off with kind of a head start
Exactly.
of the wedding day. That's really cool. That's really
Yeah.
cool. So how do you see this working? Like, give me then the next steps. Let's walk through kind of practically. Let's say a business owner says, my goodness, I never heard of chat marketing, but now I want to do it. How do I sign up? Like, what's the next step? Let's say they don't know anything. Is it purely a connecting a Facebook Messenger bot or function? Where are we going next?
Yeah, and I love this questions because we're both on YouTube, right? So of course, YouTube search engine second to Google. Best friend is to go on YouTube. There's lots of videos, and a little shameless plug. If you were to type in, wedding chat marketing, you might see a familiar face or voice, but there's videos to help you get going from complete scratch. I would say there's sort of two situations. One is, hey, Henry, I still need a little bit more of that high level, 25,000 foot overview of how this works. There's videos about that, other presentations, some slides and things like that. But if it's more like the mechanical, or the technical things, then yes, number one is to sign up for ManyChat, manychat.com. If we're hearing of ManyChat for the first time, and I know, another software I gotta get into, which I totally understand. But the way I look at that software, just manychat.com, is that think of it like in our wedding business, Jonathan, we have what's called probably a CRM, right? A client relations manager to manage our contracts, our proposals, send out invoices, take payments, all that good stuff. And of course, managing leads. So that is our wedding business CRM. And there's lots of options out there. So what is the quote unquote CRM for chat marketing? We need a software, a platform to make that work. We cannot go to facebook.com and all of a sudden build a chatbot within Facebook, at least not to the level that we would want to. There's like some really basic stuff. So that is where a software like ManyChat comes in. They have a great partnership with Facebook. And I'll share with you at the end, if it's okay, breaking news with Instagram as being part of all this, Instagram DMs and automation. So yeah, so that's where you will sign up with that. The great thing is it's free to get started, and you will connect it to your Facebook profile. That is the actual login. And then from there, you will connect your Facebook business page. So yes, you do got to have a Facebook business page as of this time. And that's what makes the connection between a ManyChat, the software, and the Facebook side. That is also what allows that seamless opt-in, if you will. When somebody goes to your website, they don't ever need to enter an email address, a phone number, fill anything out. Literally, it's just click that little widget, get started, and on your end, you'll see it in real time in the dashboard, ManyChat, that lead came in, even things like their gender and when they opted in, and all this other stuff that you could capture. But that's pretty much it. And through that, you will get a special code, a little snippet, a JavaScript code, and you just put that in the head section of your website or on the pages you want on your website, and then that little chat widget, will pop up on your site. So literally within, I would say, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, you can get that set up on your website. And the nice thing is everything is so visual that you'll see it working, both desktop and mobile, and you can test it out. So Jonathan yourself can go on to your business website. You can opt in and it'll show up, let's say under ManyChat, under your name, your subscriber. And there's a lot of transparency to that. We don't have to worry about competitors pretending to be couples checking out. We can literally see, oh, you are an actual, oh, that's great. You're it's there's a photo with your fiance, and I'm not suggesting any Facebook stalking or anything, but you can literally click on it and see what they are about on Facebook. And then the other way, Jonathan, would be just a simple link. So it's called a reference URL, just a fancy way of saying it's your Facebook business messenger. So we all have our Facebook profile, personal profile. We send messages using Messenger all the time, right? So friend to family. But we also have a business messenger account. If you were to go to messenger.com and type in the name of your business, it will show up. So yes, people can send messages to your business, but most of us are not utilizing that to actually generate leads until now with chat marketing. But this reference URL is just m.me/ maybe, the Venue RX podcast or whatever our business name might be. So that's a link. And wherever you could put a link, Instagram bio link, Pinterest, directories, and so forth, whenever somebody clicks on that link, it immediately goes over to Facebook Messenger on their end, but your business messenger pops up. Just click that button. The automation from the chatbot starts. Just like that, they become a lead. So there's all these different ways of bringing those eyeballs all into one place and then being able to communicate with them.
Are there abbreviations, or maybe not abbreviations, but are there like shortcuts? Because I've seen sometimes on certain websites that there are these there are ways to get the conversation started, I guess I should say, for the client, so they can automatically put in, like, select one of three different things to get the conversation started with you, to say, I have a wedding coming up, I'm just interested in checking out, or like basically the level of their opt-in already allows you to get some information based on what they're sending. Is this something that Facebook does as well as part of this whole chat marketing?
Yeah, definitely, Jonathan. So Facebook has something called conversation starters, I believe is the phrase, but that's where you can put like 4 FAQs, right? Like, what are your prices, or where are you based out, or whatever you want it to be. So by default, and we may have seen this when we as consumers or just users of Facebook, we're scrolling through and we see an ad, and the call to action of that Facebook ad is send message, right? So you click on that button and the little messenger from that business pops up, and usually you'll see 4 questions, like to kind of get the conversation going, as you said. But the problem with that, or sort of the shortcoming, is you can push one of those buttons and now you have to wait for a human being to respond back to you, and who knows how long that would take, right? So that's where the automation will really help, because imagine the potential couple, bride or groom or so, they tap that little button, a question, and then within a second or two, they get the response. And then the other thing will be on your website, pretty much the same thing. Rather than having to wait for a human being to step in and respond, that's where the chatbot automated will be able to immediately do so and take that to the next step. And the great thing is, it also doesn't have to be those predetermined phrases, Jonathan. It can also be, even if they just type something out like, are you available on, or what are your prices? So using what's called keywords or key phrases, and you can, set that up in many chats. So if somebody types this out, then do this. And that will also start the automation. Yeah. And there's even another level of geeking out, which is with AI, or artificial intelligence, where it will actually try to guess, kind of like a Siri or so. And that's using the most popular one. In case anybody want to really dive into it, just look into Google's AI software called, or software language called Dialogflow. And I've set that up with a few businesses where like Domino's and airline companies use it, where you can just type something like, I want to order a pizza of, this size and with these toppings, and immediately it'll put together the little, I guess, receipt or something, and you just click on it and order it. So there's that level of, I guess, intelligence, if you will, if you want to get that far too. But yeah.
This is so cool. I'm just thinking about the impact that this is going to have on people's businesses, not just because it's giving them more leads, but because it's time saving. Any busy wedding pro right now who has tons of leads coming through, and especially, like, I know from, for example, from our staffing business and from our venues that we run, if we have tons of inquiries that come through, and we have to sift through, and our managers going through and sifting through all these different things. Many of them, if they're coming from the knot or wedding wire, they're just going to be these kind of quickly filled out questionnaires. And a lot of times I've noticed that the couples, sometimes when we contact them, they don't even necessarily remember sending that inquiry out. And you have to
Yeah.
basically almost cold pitch them. Oh, I'm a vendor. I don't know if you remember reaching out to me, because they've all already talked to a ton of different people. But in that chat moment, they're having a conversation right away. You're able to go back later and see the information and only talk to a warm lead. If they're super cold, if they're looking for $1,000 wedding and your
Oh,
pricing
yeah.
starts at $5,000, you're not doing them any favors by trying to convince them to spend more money, because they just are not going to be interested in doing that. You can educate, you can put all the educational information you want on your channel, on your page, on your website or whatever. But at the end of the day, if they're not going to be interested in your service,
Mhm.
you're doing yourself a huge disservice. And speaking of time, right? Like, we want to make sure we're using our time as busy business owners as well as possible.
Yeah,
So
totally, Jonathan. I kind of chuckled a bit when you mentioned the whole wedding wire, the knot, or just any inquiry where, like, hey, do you remember? I get that all the time too, in all these years where you call them back and maybe it's the fiance picks up the phone or so. I'm like, who is this? Right? Like, yeah, was it you that inquired? Oh, that's right. And they'll ask, what's your business name? Who are you? Oh, that's right. And yeah, like you said, by that point, they probably have, and as a photographer, maybe between that moment, and sure, I could call them back within 30 seconds if I happen to be in front of my computer, but that might seem a little too anxious versus
yeah,
now with the automation, like, hey, that's working 24/7, no big deal. But certainly, what if they actually never saw your email response, right? It went to their spam folder. Like, yes, you can fill out that form off of a like a wedding wire directory, and then now you have to manually go in and do all that stuff. But just imagine if there's a way to respond and say, hey, if you'd like to actually get this information right now in Messenger or soon Instagram DM, just click this link right there within a couple of seconds. And so people are going to take that action versus even responding back to our email. And on your end, as you said, like, you're going to save time because you only need to get back to those that qualify based off of your criterias for sure.
Henry, I'm also thinking, just the more you're talking about this, the more excited I'm getting about adding it for my own business, because I think there's a huge advantage to using this, especially when you're a small business. And many of us who are small business owners, especially I think in the wedding and events category, sometimes people don't do this full time. I run my business and then I also do this podcast stuff. Maybe there was a time, I'm not sure exactly, but maybe there was a time where you were an engineer and a photographer, right? And so a lot of times pros in this field in our industry are doing two things at the same time. You can't be omnipresent, right? But with chat marketing, it seems like you really can. Like, you can kind of have this pulse on your business without constantly being there 24/7. Do you see that time saving component as like a huge selling point?
Oh, absolutely, Jonathan. I can't believe you said omnipresent. I am like a kid in a candy store, just giddy up here because that is a phrase. Omnipresent marketing is kind of like a subset or a description for chat marketing because you are everywhere. Your business is everywhere in the sense of like, hey, if somebody decides to go to your Instagram account, they can send you a message and it's going to be automated. They can send you to your business SMS number. But yes, on my end, and then I'm funny you mentioned with the engineering thing because right when I stumbled upon like this ManyChat and messenger marketing and now chat marketing, I actually decided, hey, let me test out being a full-time wedding photographer, but also going back to engineering, maybe part-time because it was a good opportunity and I was commuting. I know you're in San Diego, I'm up in the LA area, but more inland, but it was a good hour drive from where I live to LAX area, basically where my engineering job would be. And it was a good hour plus. So I'm driving and hey, this is good opportunity, but I am wasting so much time just stuck in traffic. And while I'm driving, I will get an email and like, oh, I'm excited. This inquiry came in, but I couldn't do anything about it, right? I had to wait
Yeah.
until I'm rushing into work and going on my work computer. Don't tell my boss the other time. But that's when I thought, my goodness, can I just push a button and just give them a couple of things? Because that's all they want at that point. And then if they're still interested, I'll set up a call or something like that. So it was right around the time. And long story short was, of course, we get all these calls every day from telemarketers and so forth. But somebody called me and said, "Hey, Henry, we see they probably got me from a listing. We're going to do Facebook ads." I'm like, okay, here we go. But sure, why not? I have some extra income. Let me spend it on some Facebook ads. If I book at least one wedding, I'll pay for it. So that kind of thing. But what was interesting was this company said, "Hey, you know what? You're getting some decent traffic, organic from your Google Analytics. Henry, have you thought about installing a ManyChat chatbot?" And this was November of 2019 when I first heard of this. And I'm like, what on earth is that? Like, many what? Like, can you spell that again? Or a chatbot? It seems so impersonal. I don't know. So that was my initial impression of all this. But I thought, oh, okay, well, if this saves me some time, but also the intangible, Jonathan, which is we all had that feeling where we're with our loved ones, we're with our kids, we're having dinner, we're driving, that anxiousness feeling, right? Like, I got to get back to this lead, I got to respond back, they're going to go to somebody else. Or we wake up in the morning and be like, oh man, it's great to get these inquiries, but now I gotta, so having this in place does give you de-stress a bit, and also that peace of mind. And that's really what I've been holding on to for all these years, and really why I'm so passionate about sharing this is it gives you that sense of, hey, it's okay. I don't have to check my phone every 5 minutes. I don't have to respond to this email every 10 minutes. Something is in place that will help out with that, and I'll get to it when I can get to it. So absolutely, definitely for some of us that are working a conventional job, trying to transition over, or just want to keep that work-life balance, this will be that assistant that you'll have at all times to help you out.
This is so cool. We're gonna have to chat even off air. Chat.
Yeah, time flies. Like, oh my goodness, we're almost the top of the hour. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but this, I don't know, this is so cool because I've never thought, like, I've been exposed to chat marketing, being like using it before, and it always seems so robotic. But now, as you're talking about this, I'm realizing that correctly executed, and it sounds like this is what you do. You were just telling me just before you just got done with NACE, right? A big presentation for them.
Yeah, a little time sensitive. If I can mid April right now, but it was a few hours ago. And thanks to shout out to Megan to helping us connect here with and that was another story for another time. But that's where, like, hey, I want to focus on learning the technical side of chat marketing and chatbots and all the stuff there, and not worry too much about so-called I guess getting opportunities. But that's where, yes, with NACE, they were so gracious to provide their platform, and I did a presentation for the DC chapter a few hours ago on this topic.
If you're listening or you're watching out there, you've got to hit Henry up, because it really sounds like you've dug in deep on this now and you understand how to implement this as part of your overall marketing plan. Henry, you mentioned a couple of times, kind of in an undercover way, and so it piqued my interest. This whole, like you said, Instagram chat.
Yes.
What is that?
So time sensitive, friends, and hey, being a listener or a subscriber for Jonathan's podcast, you'll be one of the first to hear about this. So we all know Instagram, right? It's kind of like somebody that doesn't have an Instagram account, and I'll be the first to admit I'm terrible at social media. Please don't look at ever my Instagram. Hopefully you'll follow me, but don't look at my feed. I looked at Jonathan's personal and the brand, and you're just like, wow, you got the reels, you got the Instagram videos, and you're consistently posting your stories. Even the behind the scenes, about 15 minutes before we hopped on this Zoom, I saw your adorable, you said 2-year-old daughter, and Damien, shout out to him over there, probably working behind the scenes. But that's the power of Instagram, right? But like, yes, with chat marketing and this whole way of messaging and automation, October 2020, Instagram, which of course owned by Facebook said, hey, everyone, Instagram automation is coming, and we are partnering with ManyChat. ManyChat has a great partnership with Facebook. So that's where any weekish now, I can't give a too specific time frame, but in the very near future, you will be able to do a couple of really awesome things. And I won't bore us too much, but just imagine like somebody goes to your IG DM, your business Instagram DM, and just puts the word, it could be any keyword you want, but let's just say pricing. And then automatically the chatbot starts automated, so you don't have to do anything, you as the business owner. And it says, hey, first name, whatever their name is, that information is pulled from their database. And thank you so much for interest in pricing. Can you confirm you're a wedding couple? There's going to be some buttons. So the way that we've been seeing Instagram, the DM, is going to be to a whole nother level in the very near future. And can you imagine this will be also possible? I would love to, or as in the chat bar, like we would love to send you the pricing PDF. What is your email address? And even better, most of us, our email address, our Facebook email address, the same thing. They just tap their email address in Instagram DM. That information is saved, and great, within seconds, that person will get an email sent to them with your, let's say, pricing PDF. Or imagine being able to do this with another example, like a giveaway. So we can run some Facebook ads, some promotions, whatever we want it to be, excuse me. And we have a post on our Facebook feed, and you can put in the description, hey, if you want to enter this contest, this giveaway, just type this word in the comments, right? And of course, we don't want to do any, fishy marketing and such, but people can type the comment, and immediately, as soon as that person types a comment in your your Instagram post, they will get a DM sent to them immediately, automatically, with the next information. So this is how you can scale your marketing, scale your leads, basically. And all of that will be possible in addition to all the other things that already exist. And I'm sure more to come soon. So that's Instagram automation. You can just Google Instagram ManyChats, or I'm sure there'll be some articles already that we can check out more on.
Henry, you saved the best for last, because that's incredible. I mean, I think Facebook, a lot of people are using Facebook for marketing, Facebook for ads, certainly. But, there's this sentiment, I think, possibly, overall, that Facebook has kind of aged up a little bit, and things like Instagram Reels, TikTok certainly is kind of for a younger generation. Obviously, we've seen a real mix of age ranges on those platforms, but Instagram is kind of this interesting place where it's quite a melting pot of all different ages. And I think specifically for the wedding industry, because it's such a aesthetically focused, visual focused industry, it's so important to have a presence on Instagram. And so for them to add this feature, I think is completely revolutionary and is really exciting for the business owners that are looking to take their businesses to the next level, get more inquiries and all of that. So wow, that's incredible. Well, Henry, we're gonna have to have you back on to talk about this.
Thank you so much, John.
Once it airs and everything. But in the meantime, where can people find you? They want to be a part of this. They want to learn more from you about this. How can they get a hold of you?
Oh yeah, thank you so much. Well, hey, first off, thank you again, Jonathan, for having me as a guest. And if they're listening on the podcast, hopefully they'll head over to the VenueRx YouTube channel, right? Because certainly, I'm always been passionate about content on YouTube. So I love everything you're doing, and I know we're here on video, so you can check out the video of this. But you got your amazing setup with the background and the audio. But yes, the best place is actually YouTube itself, and just go to youtube.com/wedding chat marketing, or just type in wedding chat marketing. You'll see lots of video. There's over 100 videos about chatbots, chat marketing, messenger, and everything is catered towards the wedding special event industry specifically. So hopefully that helps a bit. And certainly Instagram at Henry Chen, the #1. Just if you type in my name, probably will pop up at the top. I promise it'll be me getting back to you, not my chat bot, or at least not yet. But I will make the distinguishment if there's a difference. And I know, Jonathan, we talked about this offline a bit, but Clubhouse, right?
So Clubhouse. I was gonna say, I hope you plug that, because you have a great profile there.
Oh, thank you so much, Jonathan. Hey, I hope to have you as a co-host, and we'll do some fun topics over on Clubhouse. So I hope your listeners and your community can join us over there. And that's also just my name, Henry Chen, on Clubhouse. Thank you again.
Perfect. Henry, it's been a pleasure. I'm excited to dig into this more with you. I'd love to co-host a room or whatever you need from me on there. And I encourage you, if you're listening to this right now, go check out Henry on YouTube. Download Clubhouse. If you don't know what Clubhouse is, just type it into only your Apple iTunes store right now, because they're not on the Google Play Store yet. But they're probably working on an Android app here soon. But yeah, Henry, thank you. I appreciate you coming on the show, and it's been a pleasure. So thanks again.
Absolute pleasure and privilege. Thank you, Jonathan.